The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the program host and guests, and do not necessarily represent the views of Western Carolina University or radio station WWCU.
Hello and welcome to Ambient Experiences. I'm your host, Tyler Elcock, on the podcast where I talk about the weirder side of music to the listener's ears. Today we'll be talking about the album Mother Earth's Plantasia, or better known as Plantasia by Mort Garson. I'm glad I'm finally able to talk about this album because I've been listening to it for weeks now, and I actually just re-listened to it before I started recording this. So first we're going to go into some of the history and the background of the album. The album was released in 1976 by Mort Garson, and strangely enough had a limited release because you could only get it on vinyl if someone bought a houseplant from a store called Mother Earth on Melrose Avenue in LA, or if someone bought a Simmons mattress from a Sears outlet. Though it wasn't very popular upon release, in recent years it has got quite a bit more of a following and is considered an early work of electronic music. Funny enough, the store, Mother Earth, would sell plants that had little tags on them, giving the plants personalities before you even bought them. For example, the tag on one of the ferns that they would sell would say, "Hi, I'm Douglas. I like to drink water every 10 days, but I don't like direct sunlight, or pizza, or acid rock." It just made the plants so much more buyable with these tags, because not only were the tags telling you how to actually take care of the plants, they were also just humorous to read and even gave the plants a name. Garson primarily used a Moog synthesizer to compose this album, which is essentially a piano with a soundboard attached to it, with a bunch of buttons and knobs to adjust the sound. The album is also entirely instrumental, which I feel pushes the feeling of the album even more, making it even nicer to listen to. Next, I'm going to go into the album creation and the meaning of the album. So, the album was created for plants to listen to help them grow and feel more in nature while staying in, say, someone's living room. Fun fact, plants actually thrive when they listen to music that is being played between 115 Hz and 250 Hz for about 1 to 3 hours a day. This is mostly due to the vibration at this level emitting similar sounds to that of nature. The album is just a little over half an hour long, so if someone were to play this album front to back twice, the plants would get their daily dose of music for the day. Next, I'm going to go into how the album makes me feel as a whole, as well as some of my favorite tracks. This album quite literally makes me feel like a plant in every song. Some songs I feel like I'm swaying back and forth in the wind, and in others I feel like I'm staring into the beauty of the night sky. I highly suggest looking up the plants that are used in each of the track titles for a visual reference. Speaking of the track list, I will now go ahead and name out all of the song titles, and then tell you a few of my favorites. There are 10 tracks in total. Number 1 is Plantasia. Number 2 is Symphony for a Spider Plant. Number 3 is Baby's Blues Tears. Number 4 is an Ode to an African Plant. Number 5, Concerto for Philodendron and Pothos. Number 6, Rhapsody in Green. Number 7, Swinging Spathiphyllums. Number 8, You Don't Have to Walk a Begonia. Number 9, A Mellow Mood for Maidenhair. And number 10, Music to Soothe the Savage Snake Plant. My top 3 tracks, from the first to third, are probably going to be, we'll start with my favorite, Swinging Spathiphyllums. Spathiphyllums is the scientific term for a peace lily, which is a small white plant with a yellow stem that typically thrives on the floors of tropical forests. This song almost feels like a camera pan of the forest floor, just so full of life with sunlight peeping through some of the trees, which is perfect because these plants are actually more low-light plants than being in direct sunlight to truly thrive. And it really makes you feel like you're swaying in the wind on the floor of the forest. My second favorite would probably be Concerto for Philodendron and Pothos. The philodendron is a plant with very large leaves that comes in many different varieties, having just around 500 different types of its species. Surprisingly, it can thrive mostly indoors all year round, but if they are outside, they prefer a shady spot of the garden. And the pothos, which is the other plant that's in the name of this song, or aka the devil's ivy, is a plant actually from the same family as the philodendron. Just like the philodendron, it is a very nice indoor decorative plant, Typically, this plant will be wrapped around railings or dangling off the end of a railing of some stairs like vines. I think this song is a perfect song describing them both together because it is a very relaxed song, as well as them both being from the same family, and these plants don't really have to deal with the elements outside. The song makes me think as if the plants are next to each other, sitting in a windowsill, looking out at the great beyond of nature together. And finally, my third favorite is the first song on the record, Plantasia. This song doesn't really feel like one plant, but more so the nature or plants as a whole in nature. The song starts off very soft, as if one voice is singing, and then as the song continues, it adds more and more voices, becoming more bombastic, and it just becomes this grand symphony of voices. It is a very great first impression of the album because I feel it really sets the mood for what to expect throughout the album. And that would be all the different types of nature singing their parts in nature where they belong. I won't go into much more detail about the tracks so people can go listen to it for themselves because it is a very nice experience for not only your plants, but also humans as well. I just find this record so fascinating because it feels as though we can start to relate with something that we see in everyday life and generally care for. I'm already starting to play this album for my plants in my room, and even if I can't see a smile on my plant's face, it still makes me feel like I'm helping out my plants in some other way that's fun besides just doing what's mandatory for them to live. Plants may be great for decoration, but they're also friends to not only humans but the world as a whole. I highly suggest to go check out Mother Earth's Plantasia by Mort Garson, and it is on all streaming services as well. Who knows? Maybe people could have listening parties with their plants. Unfortunately, that is all I have for today on Plantasia. I hope you will go give it a listen and have a great experience with this record like I did. I guess you could say this record's really grown on me, huh? Tune in next time when I will talk about Everywhere at the End of Time by The Caretaker, a story of the stages of dementia. I'm your host, Tyler Elcock.